We are still here at the sidelines of the mining indaba for 2025, where the conversations are starting to conclude, but boy oh boy, are they concluding with a bang. If you've been following our podcast series here with Transnet, we've been giving you insight into the importance of this strategic company, which is really evolving at the moment, opening itself up to opportunities to collaborate, seek opportunities, and fundamentally unlock growth with key partners in the private sector. If you've joined us, you would be well aware that this does stem from some policy shifts that had taken place from a presidential point of view, transcended into decision-making structures that have shifted at a board level and as such have been executed right down to operations by the executive team members of Transnet. And over the days, we've been hearing more about the ongoing efforts to improve efficiency and, of course, growth within Transnet to unlock so much more growth for their customers too. But today, as we wrap it up here at the Mining Indaba, we're going to give you some insight on the importance of Transnet as an institution and a company in providing a lot more opportunities for mining houses themselves to expand. We have a wonderful group of participants who are joining us here today, listening to this conversation. And of course, woman who is at the helm of making sure that many of these collaborative efforts really do yield fruit. Joined now by Yolisa Kani, who joins us as the Chief Business Development Officer at Transnet. Such a pleasure to have you, ma'am.
Likewise, Gugu. Thank you so much.
I'm really excited to speak to you on this one because after having engaged with many of your colleagues within the organization, one thing is very clear. The mandate at Transnet is to make sure that we evolve, we collaborate, we grow, and most importantly, we're doing that at a very accelerated pace to make sure that we yield the outcomes we need. Sounds like we have a solid team on board, solid direction in place, and of course, an even more better understanding of the shift in the narrative of Transnet being here at the Mining Indaba.
Absolutely, Gu. I mean, this Mining Indaba is a 31-year-old event. It started off as a very small conference to what you see today. And as I was saying to you earlier on, we've had some hard times at this very same event where every speaker was talking about Transnet's inefficiencies.
Yes.
And I think for the second time now, we still acknowledge the challenges, but the conversation has shifted. They're seeing the improvement. We're all talking about opportunities to collaborate and partner with each other. So it's absolutely amazing to be here again and talking not just about the challenges, but how do we collectively define solutions with the rest of the government sector, with our customers, as well as all the other players from governments in other regions, as well as the miners across the continent.
I find this refreshing because it also gives us some insight that there's a heightened level of accountability at Transnet. And you've come back this year and made improvements from the conversations that were taking place a year ago. And tell us more about this.
So, Gugu, I mean, if you recall, I mean, for the past, let's just say, past 4 or 5 years or so, I mean, this is my 5th year at Transnet, the volumes have been on a decline. And from last year, the year that ended, I mean, we started arresting the decline, which is a good thing. The pace might not be what everyone wants, but certainly we're not going down. It's not a slippery slide. We're slowly and gradually moving up, and that's a good thing. And part of how we've managed that turnaround is because we have a much closer relationship with our customers. Let me give you an example. So the mining sector, that is the coal customers. When we all realized that our rolling stock needed compressors and batteries, they were the quick ones to say, we'll procure them for you. And the outcome of that partnership is that they procured at a much cheaper rate, then procured at a much faster rate. So the collaborations are really fruitful and we can see the impact through the volumes that are increasing. The second example is that we all have a common challenge, which is safety. We're spending billions as Transnet solving a problem that is not really a problem, but is affecting our operations. Then again, that's another area we are collaborating with the partners. So the effort is a joint effort. And we are happy to say that if we continue at this pace and even faster, probably the 250 million tons that we've been set or given, target that has been given to us by the minister in the next 5 years, probably realized much sooner than that before.
Oh, that's good news. And I think that tells us something, right? All hands on deck. There's a shift happening. And of course, there's progress. For many of us who have been here at the Mining Indaba, it's a lot of activity, a lot of conversations taking place. Not only have we had Transnet being represented on various panels and stakeholder engagements, but you two have also been privy to a few conversations, meetings that have taken place on the sidelines. What is everyone saying? Not just customers in South Africa, but from across the continent too.
Look, let me start with the event prior the mining indaba. Last week, Thursday and Friday, I happened to be at the coal conferences, and it's interesting that the trajectory of coal has been said to be it is going to reach a cliff. But coming out of that conversation, there's a clear narrative that has now changed to say that coal is a strategic commodity for South Africa. So we continue to support coal miners, right? I mean, we have about, I think, over 20 emerging miners that are in that space. And the conversations we're having with them, with the understanding that they don't have the same big balance sheet as the big miners. However, there is a quattro scheme that between ourselves and the DMRE, we are supporting them to ensure that they reach the 4 million tons allocated to them. Park that. We are now here, starting from Monday. There is just a positive energy about the continent and its mineral resources. Right. The second thing about it is that we are clear that with what we are endowed with, there is a huge potential for beneficiation that we are yet to unlock. Yes. That then unlocks another possibility for us, which is the African continent trading is itself. Yes. If we can realize that, book, I'm telling you, doesn't matter what geopolitics we are faced with, this continent can survive in and of itself.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's really critical. Looking at the expo stand as well, right next door, there's a representation from Zambia. When you look across the exhibition center, Angola is here, friends and colleagues from DRC, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, and there's a plethora of African countries. And we're also well aware that even when it comes to the freight rate environment, there's a lot of opportunity that Transnet has identified within the SADC region as well. The level of camaraderie, partnership, and the conversations that are taking place with our peers across the continent, how is that evolving?
It's absolutely amazing. And it's moved Google from Transnet being the big brother and playing a Spartacus role. Our role is we have a vast network of the railway network. We have 8 commercial ports. All of that are aimed at, facilitating intra-Africa trade. That's number one. It's also aimed at supporting regional integration. We're a very big part of that big puzzle. But we are clear that in and of ourselves as Transnet, we just cannot do it alone. So let me give you an example. There's a project that we've been working on, which is the North-South Corridor. The amount of commodities that can potentially be transported on that corridor and the opportunity that is lost for a number of reasons, but one of them being the state of the infrastructure, the lack of the rolling stock, and that's how we conceptualized the establishment of the NISCO. We said if you could just ring-fence resources for just that corridor, you would see vast amounts of commodities coming down to South Africa and vice versa. We also have an amazing project that we're working on together with Swaziland as well as Botswana. So Botswana is unlocking a number of coal mines, and they are going to be building a new railway line that's going to link into South Africa out of our ports. And Swaziland then lifted their hand to say, actually, you can also channel some of the cargo via Swaziland into Richards Bay Island. So those are the kind of collaborations we are talking about. It's no longer about what Transnet can do, but it's about what can we do as a collective to unlock trade within the continent itself.
100%. I love the analogy of the Spartacus role, right? The big brother who comes in to say, but the truth is now we've got a troop behind us, and doing this as a clear tribe, making sure that we do unlock so much more potential on the continent. As you reflect on the last few days, things are starting to wind down here at the mining indaba. What have been some of the most significant key takeaways that you leave with you and head back to your various business engagements as a team to make sure that we're able to capitalize on going forward?
No, there's a lot, Gugu. When you read that, I think it was in one of the panels that with the constraints that the mining sector faced in the previous year, which was 2024, it still contributed 433 billion into our economy.
Yep.
And they can do more. So we really are seeing the impact of the challenges that we're all facing on the economy of the country and its GDP. However, having said that, I think the doors are truly open, especially now that we have the rail reform and the network statement that has been published. We're inundated with requests from customers and stakeholders that are saying, if I wanted to take this opportunity, how do I do it? So one could say that if it depends on whether you look at a glass half full or half empty. For me, it's half full. Therein lies a lot of opportunities for Transnet. Transnet engineering is looking at potential customers that might be looking at rolling stock that needs to be refurbished. It could be looking at potential customers that want new rolling stock. For TFR, with all of its experience, it could be looking at a customer that says, I've got the rolling stock, but I don't have the know-how of how to operate a rail system. From a LeaseCo point of view, we are having customers that are saying, I'm applying for a slot, but I need a rolling stock. So it's coming together quite nicely for us. It's just adapting our business to what we are faced with, which is the liberalization of the railway system. So it's quite exciting times for us, and the doors remain open. Truly and honestly speaking, Kogi, if you don't leverage on these opportunities, it would be our fault.
Yes.
So I'm excited. But most importantly, I'm excited by the leadership that has been shown by our Minister Kode Mantashe, who is saying these are strategic minerals. They are here to stay. Let's do what we can to support our miners. We all want the same thing. We want to eradicate unemployment. We want to eradicate poverty. And here we are sitting with all of these resources.
100%.
Yeah.
It's also important for us as well, I guess, to emphasize to all key stakeholders around the role and the importance of governance. And that's why we've seen different shifts within the organizations to highlight that as a priority. Perhaps it's emphasized that again, so there is certainty and an understanding from stakeholders to know that we're working according to rules and regulations and clear structures and a heightened level of transparency.
Yeah. No, of course. I mean, we're a government entity. There's a whole lot of policies that we subscribe to. There's the PFMA. There's a whole lot of things. Be that as it may, Gupu, one of the most innovative things we've done, because in the past, a private company would come to us and say, I have this innovative idea. And more often than not, we didn't know what to do with it because there was no mechanism of dealing with unsolicited proposals. To date, we have what we call the joint investment partner selection framework that allows us to start considering unsolicited proposals. I've just come out of the meeting with the mayor of Cape Town, and we both agreed that there is so much land that can be unlocked in the city of Cape Town that belongs to Transnet. And he is going to be submitting an unsolicited proposals and a solicited proposal rather. And we'll have a governance process to follow to an extent that at the end of the day, we come out on the other side agreeing that it's a yes or it's a no. And it's a very transparent process. So yes, as much as we have governance structures that we have to follow, but we've been quite creative about how then and I'm not saying circumventing as in bypass governance structures, but how else do we then accommodate all of these things that are coming our way? Because it's absolutely necessary that which we cannot do allow the private sector to do it with us or for us.
Exactly. Displaying agility and flexibility.
Agility and flexibility, most important, and adaptability. Yes. The one thing I want to say, and it's a very difficult position to be in as Transnet, is that we're a government entity competing with the private sector, expected to have the same level of agility and flexibility. And yet the rules are government rules.
Yes.
But we're working around that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I hear you on that, and it's been refreshing to see the innovation also come to the fore. As we wrap up and have various stakeholders listening into these conversations, we will head back to our respective homes and offices in the next few days and, of course, get back to business. What are your closing remarks to key stakeholders to understand the critical role that Transnet continues to play and has shown and displayed a willingness to fulfill, especially for the mining industry?
Yeah, there's a lot. The first one is that we're open for business. You can knock at our door. We'll consider whatever proposal you have. As I've just indicated, there are governance structures that we follow, but there is a process that allows us to engage with the private sector. The second one is, as much as the uptake of our of our volumes is not at the pace that people would like to see it, but bottom line is it's not a slippery downslide. So there's some improvements there that need to be acknowledged. And I think that the third one is we're looking for meaningful, mutually beneficial collaborations and partnerships. A win-win solution is going to work for us. But I think the last thing that I'd like people to know is that we've reached a stage where you know that we can't service everybody. So there's enough for all of us. So when the minister says she'd like to see a shift of 250 million tons in the next 5 years, from road to rail, it's not just on Transnet. It's on us and the rest of the private sector as well.
100%. Yolisa, it's been such a pleasure. We're looking forward to seeing and hearing and witnessing more of the growth that's taking place at Transnet, and all the best in your endeavors going forward.
Thank you, Gugan. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. That is Yolisa Kani, who is the Chief Business Development Officer at Transnet.